guys, it's been a while since we did one of these from the hotel, so sadly I was actually planning on getting out there, getting some drone footage. It looked really good today, and as I'm walking out the door, welcome typhoon and high winds and low cloud cover. So I decided I want to talk about something else, and that is being a new hire in OJT. And the reason I want to bring this up is recently a CSX Conductor Training was killed. It's a tragic event, but I've harped on safety being in your hands a lot. I wanted to reinforce this and throw some tips y'all's way that might help you guys really absorb some more information. Being out here on the railroad is a very serious deal. It is a job that allows you to become very complacent very quickly, and it's also a job that can kill you very quickly because of complacency. I'm not saying that's what happened with the CSX employee. What I'm saying is things can turn deadly very quick. And so as you're out here doing your new hire training and you're trying to learn the ropes and the rules, the do's and the don'ts, here's some things to keep in mind. When you're out there and you're doing a road run, or let's just say you're working out your home terminal doing yard work or locals, you need to be within close proximity, and I even dare say within arm's reach of your facilitator, your conductor that you're assigned to at all times, because we see things a lot of times before they happen that you haven't had the chance to gain the experience to see. And if you just wander off, don't tell anyone, or just start freelancing and doing shit on your own, you can get yourself into a world of trouble really quick, and sometimes those consequences are, they're final. Another thing I want to throw y'all's way is learn to manage your time. By now you already know that there's a lot of studying involved after you get done with your shift, in between shifts, and it can become very overwhelming. Guys, learn to establish some time management. Try to figure out when you're going out again. Make sure you have time for yourself to unwind where you're not dealing with any railroad stuff. But also set aside time, maybe at least an hour a night or a day, to keep the information that you're learning fresh in your mind. I'm not saying go cram. What I'm saying is keep it fresh in your mind, review your notes, review your study guides, whatever you have, but keep these rules fresh in your mind at all times, because it's going to reinforce what you're learning. When you first start, you're going to be like, this is information overload, I'm not getting it. That's fine. That is why a nightly or daily review of the information and your notes and your study guides, just read it out loud, whatever you gotta do, will reinforce it over time. So over the next 13, 22 weeks, whatever your program is, you've developed this, and by the time you get halfway through, you're probably going to be able to recite a lot of these things word for word. And not only is that going to help you on your test, that's going to help instill the rules, regulations, and safety measurements that you need to know firmly in your brain for the rest of your career. One thing I don't see or hear students doing a lot of is taking notes. Guys, when you're out there, carry a small little notepad. Nothing fancy. Make sure you got a pen or two, because, well, pens always die when you need them the most. And take notes. If your instructor or your facilitator is talking about a certain rule, write down what that rule is. When you go home at night, look up the rule, make you a note that in your study guide, whatever it is. Now, let's say you're in your phase of OJT, where you're actually out there doing road runs and you're staying at away from home terminal. I bring this up because I have seen it. It happened when I went through my training. I have seen it in the years since, and I have people talking on our Discord and sending me emails asking me about this topic, and that is, should I go drinking with the guys I'm working with when I get to the away from home terminal? Look, I'm not going to go tell anyone not to have a beer or whatever, but something you need to keep in mind. One, I know BNSF and probably the other Class 1 railroads have a policy against students drinking while they're on OJT and at the away from home terminal. Okay, make sure you're not in violation of that. I have seen new hires fired because they got caught drinking when their training policy says no drinking when you're at the away from home terminal. Don't kill your career before it even gets started because you had to go have a beer or you gave into peer pressure, whatever it is. You got enough on your plate that when you get to the hotel, you should probably be taking a shower, relaxing for a little bit and unwinding, review any notes you took on the trip, go over your information, and then try to get a good night's rest, because you're going to be doing a lot of work and have a lot of information thrown at you, and you need to try to stay as fresh as possible during this period. Also, even if your carrier, whoever you're working for, short line, Class 1, whatever, okay, let's say they don't have a policy regarding drinking while you're on OJT. Okay, great. Keep in mind that the FRA is still going to hold you accountable and will test you just as if you are an already licensed conductor. So keep that in mind, because if you go out with the boys that you just got done working with, get hammered and like, oh, I'm okay, FRA can't do anything to me, you know, I won't get tested. Guys, you're sorely mistaken. When the FRA calls crews in to go and do a drug or a breathalyzer, you know, P-test, breathalyzer, whatever, you're going to get tested just like everybody else, and you will be held accountable just like everyone else. Don't try to outsmart the system. Just don't put yourself in that situation. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is y'all's attitude. Now, I have been seeing this with students that I have come into contact with. I have been experiencing this with students and new hires that are on our Discord server and that I've talked to, and people that have emailed me. Guys, it is very easy to see and think that you got this figured out after a couple of weeks. I can assure you, you do not. When I was in firefighting and EMS, saw this all the time. We would get these kids, you know, these guys and gals coming out of class and coming and doing their clinicals with us, and they think because they just finished 4 months in school and now they're doing their ride-alongs, they got it all figured out. Or they just graduated their program and they got it all figured out, and now they're coming to us to be hired on to be on the ambulance or the fire truck, and they think they know it all. They're full of information, they're full of confidence. Let me assure you, you still don't know shit from Shinola. So make sure you have a very humble attitude, guys. You start retaining this information, it's easy to get complacent, but I assure you, every day I am still learning something new on how to do something, or a rule that was tied into another rule that I didn't know about that could have potentially got me fired or in big trouble. It's an ever-evolving process. Anybody that says they know it all, be wary of them, new or old. doesn't matter. I work with people all the time that have many, many more years experience than I do, and people I learn from every single trip. But yet we're still in the cab of this locomotive up on our iPads, double checking a roll and seeing if there's another roll that comes into play regarding this key train or length or weight. Guys, it is a constantly evolving environment, and you will never have everything 100% figured out. Be wary of that. If people had it 100% figured out, we wouldn't have a thing here at BNSF called the Rolls Hotline. I use this hotline all the time. Just last week, had an issue with a key train and a detector, and it seemed like there were some gray areas in the rolls regarding, did we go into emergency, didn't we go into emergency, lengths, weights, all this kinds of stuff. And I pick up that phone, make a phone call to the Rolls hotline, and it's like, hey man, here's our situation, here's where we think these rules are applying, can you double check that for us? And within minutes we got confirmation on how we thought that rule was applied. We were good to go, nobody got fired, nothing bad happened. Have a good day. So keep that in mind, and if you guys, wherever you work at, have a rules hotline, I would highly suggest putting that phone number in your phone and not being afraid to use it. Look guys, I'm not trying to harp on anyone, I'm not trying to point fingers, but the fact of the matter remains is the rail industry is a very dynamic and volatile place right now, and there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of uncertainty. And like most people coming into the railroad industry, you aren't born as a conductor. A lot of people are coming into the rail industry these days, and like myself, I'm first generation railroader, and I didn't grow up having a railroad dad or mom and having people feed me information, ever since I was a little kid regarding this industry. So it is up to you to put yourself in a position for success and not failure. It is ultimately, at the end of the day, your responsibility to make sure you're being safe. And if you don't know, ask questions. If somebody asks you something and you don't know the answer, say, I don't know, or I'm unsure. That is okay. But take your safety seriously, and remember that this is a very dangerous job. We're dealing with equipment that can dismember you, kill you, just cause all kinds of horrible damage if you're not careful. And I don't want to see anyone, whether they're a trainee or an old head, get killed out here at their place of work. It just shouldn't happen. It doesn't need to happen. So guys, take your time, please take this seriously, and I hope you guys have a long and fulfilling career, because this job can be very rewarding even with all the issues going on, and on the back end with the unions versus the carriers. Right now your focus just needs to be on learning and going home the same way you showed up. That's alive, upright, breathing, and probably with a warped sense of humor. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope you guys are doing well. As always, check out our Discord. It is free. You can find the link in that below. Also, go throw us a follow on Facebook. We have a brand new page that we have launched to help put more information out and to send notifications to videos, because a lot of people have wrote in and said they're not getting notifications on YouTube. Well, you will definitely get a notification there as well. I hope you guys are doing good. Thank you for all your support, and we'll see you on the next one. Here we go, guys.